Hello, welcome to a fresh episode of Mocca with Moiz. We are a week or so away from the World T20. So, in this podcast, we talk about Pakistan cricket, the World T20, our prospects. और इस issue पे बात करने के लिए we have invited a cricket enthusiast, somebody who has worked on a cricket development project, the new, improved, and fully clothed Arhum Latif. Arhum, what's up?
What's going on, man? How are you? You forced me to wear this shirt, huh?
I did. Yeah. So, how are you?
Good, man. How's everything?
It's good.
Heard you had a long day at work today, huh?
Long day at work. Yes, I haven't slept in a while. So if I mumble, just know that it's because of lack of sleep. But I'm like starting with Pakistan's T20. Like there's been chaos. Like we removed our head coach and our bowling coach a few weeks before the tournament. We've had a new coach, a new batting consultant, and we've had some changes in the team at the last minute as well. So how do you see this change, and how do you see the team that's been selected now?
I think it's perfectly set up for Pakistan to win the World Cup, right?
Yeah.
Because we thrive under chaos. Like, look at the championship trophy in 2017.
Then 2009 T20 World Cup.
Well, we didn't win that one. So
The 9 one.
2009 one?
Yeah,
Chaos,
Yunus,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. 92 was chaos. 2017 was chaos. 2009 was chaos. A year and a half after the match-fixing scandal.
Yeah.
So we just thrive under the chaos, right? And Misbah knew that. That's why he resigned from the job. He was like, I need to
Motivate these guys,
create some kind of frenzy to motivate the guys. But no, seriously, I think it was very unfortunate the way it happened. I think they should have sat through it. I think Misbah and Waqar were under immense pressure, and then with contracting COVID, you think about a lot of things when you're in isolation. So I can't say anything for that. Mental health is important. So if they were feeling stressed, man, it's fair. I mean, life is more important than cricket. They have kids. They have a life outside of cricket. So if they needed to do that for their mental health, well be it, It's bigger than cricket, right?
Yeah.
So it's fair enough. With regards to the team, I think some of the things were self-inflicted as they usually are. I think we had a good setup going. We had a year of practice with this kind of setup where our openers were batting, anchoring the team. And then you had a middle order that was supposed to just come in and hit or miss cricket. So changing that, bringing in another anchor to anchor the middle order will be interesting. But I guess as Babar Azam is the captain, he's taken that risk. He knows it's all on him. So I think fair enough, man. I think you need a bold captain like that. And no matter whether I like that decision or not, he took a bold decision and he's going to live with it.
But the one question that, often comes to my mind is that one day you go and tell all these guys that go out and play fearless cricket. And the other day when they fail, you simply drop them. So for guys like Azam or Khushdil, when you drop them, like what kind of message are you giving? Because on one hand, you want them to play fearless cricket, and then you bring in guys like Sarfaraz and Malik, who, I mean, great cricketers in their own right, but they're not really known, for fearless cricket. They're known as anchors, as you said.
Yeah. I think with Azam, I don't think he was dropped because of his failures. I think the chief selector wanted him because he even said like 5 days before he got dropped, chief selector said that this is the team we're going with. I think in my opinion, I obviously don't know this for a fact. I feel like there was a lot of captain influence on that decision. I think the chief selector and Ramiz Raja backed down. What it seems like, obviously, I don't know this for a fact. And again, like I said, it's fair. I mean, if you're the captain, you're the one dying on the sword. So Babar Azam probably knew that, and he decided he wants to go with people he can trust. He thinks he can trust, so good for him. Personally, I think the strategy taken before the team was changed, I think it was fine. I think you had decided, and statistics proved that Babar Azam and Rizwan were going to bat 12 overs a match on average. And you don't need guys coming in and batting 5-6 overs after that. You need guys coming in, playing 10 balls, scoring 20 runs, getting you to that, score that almost guarantees you a win. Babar didn't want that. Babar wants the stability of another anchor in the team. I respect the fact that they took Sarfaraz because Azam is not a keeper yet, I think. And Khuda na khasta, agar Rizwan ko injury ho jati hai, you cannot count on Azam Khan keeping in the World Cup. So, I mean, yeah, sure, Azam Khan can hit a big 6, but I mean, his fitness is his fault. So it's okay with me that they picked Sarfaraz for that.
And speaking of Sarfaraz, let's just talk about the middle order, because we have struggled with the middle order for the last few years. And there's this, people think that because the World Cup is in the UAE, these probably won't be high scoring matches. So you'll have matches 140, 150, you'll need anchors, and you need somebody who plays spin well. So what do you think, because this is not based on information, this is now like where you analyze the squad. What do you think would be our middle order, and what do you think should be our middle order? Would you include Malik and Hafiz both? Would you include Sarfaraz at 4 because he's a great player of spin. He's done well in the national T20 as well. And there have been occasions where his team, didn't do that well. The opening slot didn't work that well. And he anchored the innings and made sure that they got that 150, 160.
My guess, or I guess my preferred lineup would probably be Babar Azam Rizwan to open, Heather Ali at 3. You got to know that if Malik is going, he's not going to sit. Like, Babar's taking him, he's taking him to play.
Yeah.
So Malik will probably play at 4, Hafiz will play at 5, hopefully. Hopefully it's not the other way around. Then you have to have Asif Ali, my king, playing at 6.
Yeah.
Then you go with Imad, Nawaz, and then you get 3 fast bowlers.
So Shahdab.
Shadab.
Okay. Yeah.
And 3 fast bowlers, right? So what's that? 6 pe Asif Ali.
Yeah.
7 pe, I'd take Nawaz. The batting form Nawaz is in currently, oof, man.
Yeah.
8 pe Shahdab. And the way I'm seeing things, man, Imad probably doesn't get to play, but it won't be too bold of a decision to play 3 spinners and 2 fast bowlers.
Yeah.
I haven't watched the IPL a lot because of, Pakistan's in the ball. But like...
Are you also in contention for the DJI side role?
Huh?
Are you also in contention for the DJI side? Okay.
Say
Divulge that?
currently,
okay.
yeah. Interview process is starting tomorrow. Honestly, I would probably go with Shaheen and Hassan Ali. But like realistically, I think they'd want the safety of a third fast bowler. So Harris House will probably get the nod.
Yeah.
But if we start going deeper into the tournament and spin starts playing more and more of a factor, which it really is if you watch the IPL, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I'd be slightly surprised, but I wouldn't be too surprised if they played 3 spinners, 3 frontline spinners, because Malik and Hafiz haven't bowled too much. I think there'll be utility bowlers that'll be used to attack lefties. Hafiz more so than Malik, but you still want 3 fast bowlers in the team, but it won't be like, what are they doing if they're playing 2 fast bowlers, right? Because like Ashwin last night bowled the last over, almost defended 6 runs. So Dubai is going to be tricky. I think Dubai won't be as high scoring as we think it's going to be. Yeah. I don't think many people are thinking it's going to be high scoring. I think 145, 150 realistically will always be a fighting score there. So I would play Nawaz and Shadab. Shadab's your vice captain, so you kind of have to play him. I think in the bowling form that he's in, he's going to be a risk, but I think they're going to mitigate that risk with making sure Hafiz and Malik can go for a couple overs if Shadab gets hit out.
So I have 2 main questions over here. The first question I have is that, so you said that you'd play Heather at number 3. And Heather's done quite well in the recent tournament, but he didn't do so well for Pakistan at number 3. So the one option that people have often considered is that he bat Heather down the order. So perhaps have it at number 5 or 6, right? And the other question for me is like, can you really risk playing Hafiz? Because Hafiz hasn't really played any cricket in the last month or so. He was sick apparently. He can't play the national T20 as well. So, I mean, if I were you, for example, I'd probably go with Heather at number 3, then Sarfaraz, then Malik, and then Asif Ali. Yeah. Because, I mean, that question still exists, that while Hafiz gives you that option where he can bowl a few overs, but do you play somebody who's in good form? And Rizwan, we know that has a higher batting average when he only bats. And Rizwan is good enough to play as a specialist opener, right? So do you then play Hafiz over Sarfaraz, or do you have Sarfaraz because plays well against Spain, has been in good form, or do you still take that chance and play with Hafiz? And where do you?
I mean, that's the question, right? Personally, I mean, as much as I've sent hate Sarfaraz's way, he is a really good player of spin, right? He sweeps the ball religiously. And he plays those cheeky single double cricket like really well. So if you are planning for a low scoring game, I mean, I could see him being interchanged for Hafiz. But I would still make sure, if I'm playing Heather Ali, I'm playing him at 3. Yeah. You want some power up top, some power at the bottom, and then just the guys at the bottom to hit out. Malik is the interesting position. I'm interested to see where they'll play him. It's definitely not going to be at 3. It's going to be either 4 or 5. And if you're playing Sarfaraz, does Sarfaraz come before Malik and Malik go after him? That's how I would do it if Sarfaraz is playing. And obviously, just because... it depends. I think Rizwan is always ready to sacrifice for the team. So if he is playing and Sarfaraz is playing, I could see him sacrificing the gloves because he's a gun fielder. I mean, he's an absolute gun of a fielder. So Sarfaraz is a great keeper. So it's not like you're missing out on too much. I mean, he's not as good as Rizwan, but I think the best opportunity there would be to make Sarfaraz your keeper and Rizwan your...
And you spoke about Shahdab's form, and that's a source of concern for everybody, because if you're playing in the UAE, and I think like all our success in the UAE in the mid-2000s as well, like you relied a lot on Afridi, Hafiz, Najwal, and then after that you relied a lot on Nawaz and Imad, and even Shahdab for that matter when Sarfaraz was captain. Yeah. So Shahdab's dip in form is really concerning for me, because you've seen in the IPL as well, all these spinners do too well. So what do you think about that? Do you think we could have gone with Usman Qadir in the main squad, or do you think that we weren't really spoiled for choice because Usman hasn't done as well in the national T20 either?
I mean, Usman has shown flashes of brilliance.
Oh, sorry. Just to interject, we could have had Zahid as well. So, like, what do you think of these options? And do you think Shahdab is still our best option?
Look, I'll be very honest. Zahid is decent. I don't think he's blown anyone away with his performances. He's pretty good. He's a good leg spinner. But you also tied your hands behind your back when you made Shahdab your vice captain, right? So like you're losing your head coach, losing your bowling coach, and now right before the World Cup, like they had no reason to make him the vice captain when they made him the vice captain. I think that's fair. They they backed in, they put their confidence in him, and I mean he's young. Like most spinners, they mature with age. They get better as they get older. And we've got to remember, I know we've been seeing Shahdab for like 4 or 5 years now. Yeah. But he's like, what, 22, 23, right? So he's got a long way to go. Still, I think he was getting better. I think he had a shoulder injury like a year or so ago. He couldn't get the right flight and the revs on the ball. He started getting that in practice. You would see that coming back aista aista. I think he's still having a little bit of an issue with his length. I think he bowls a little too aage, इसलिए इसको ज़्यादा मार पड़ती है. Like both batsmen like Azam who can really go through the line of a ball. We're having a good time with him because I think he's pushing the ball a little too further up. I think वो आ जाएगा. I think he's got 8. I mean, obviously it's not a lot of time, but I mean I'm rooting for him. I hope he does well. I know he's going to play because he's the vice captain. Yeah. But we have to hope for the best, and we're lucky that we've got a couple of all-round spinners in a way who can cover up for him. But I mean, obviously, if we start going later in the tournament and he's not performing, I think the captain, the selector, is going to have to make a tough decision on him because obviously he's not the kind of batsman that'll blow you away. And with the way our top order is playing top order set up right now, I don't see him batting above 7. Yeah. So he's essentially playing as a full-time batsman. So we need to make sure he's playing as a full-time bowler. Yeah. So we need to make sure his overs count. And Dubai is favoring spinners, so he's gonna have an easier time. He just needs to make it count. I think it's very important. Now Imad's gonna need to get it run in the team, but it's not like Imad's in fantastic form either. True. So,
but I guess Imad gives you that option where you can open the bowling with him. So I guess that's an added advantage. Yeah. And speaking of bowling all-rounders, they can also bowl a few overs. What do you think of the decision to drop Iftikhar from the squad? Because there has been a lot of,
But Iftikhar got dropped a while ago, right? It's not like he got dropped recently.
No. But I think the choice really was because Khushdal came back, Asif Ali came back. So the choice was between Iftikhar and Asif Ali or Khushdal perhaps.
Yeah, it's like, so Iftikhar is a better, obviously again, if you want to talk about recent performances and you want to talk about in a vacuum, yes, I would say Iftikhar Ahmed's a better batsman than Asif Ali. Sorry, Asif. And he bowls a few overs. But you have to look at what the team's expecting. The team's not expecting Asif to go in there, dig in, play 10 overs and score 60, 70 runs. They're looking for him to go in, bat 2 balls, try to hit the third ball for 6, and just maybe get out 8, 10 balls, get 20 runs, 18 runs. Is he doing that well? Yeah, you can argue maybe he's not, but you take someone who's known for that, or do you take someone who's known for, again, slowly building into his innings. Obviously, Iftikhar's last 3 innings are fresh in people's minds, so he has played extremely well, and he's finished a couple of games for Pakistan, like the 1-6 he hit in New Zealand at the end. So I mean, I like Iftikhar Ahmed. I think he's a very steady player. I think you can really argue that he should be there instead of Shoaib Malik. Yeah. But you're looking for a different thing. I mean, obviously the Khushdal thing was surprising to a lot of people. The Azam Khan pick was surprising to a lot of people. But they were picked for a very, very specific role. It's like in baseball when you send in a bullpen pitcher, right? Yeah, he might be a great pitcher, but he just doesn't start games. Or when you bring in a closer in baseball to pitch, he pitches 1 innings. He might be the best pitcher on the team, but his job is to pitch 1 innings. You can't make him start innings. He's gonna end the game. That's it. Yeah. So I think T20 is short enough where you can have specific roles. And I think you should have specific roles. And and that's why I give Mohammad Wasim enough credit that he picked players for specific roles. That's why he didn't take Malik, he didn't take Sarfaraz, because he was like, ज़रूरत ही नहीं पड़ेगी. आपके statistically openers 12-13 over match खेल रहे हैं, तो बचा क्या? 42 balls तो बचे हैं. 42 balls में आपने 20 बॉलें थोड़ी खेलनी है, आपने 8 बॉलें खेलनी है. अगर छक्के लगे नहीं लगे, अगला बंदा है वो भी छक्का मारने की कोशिश करे, आउट हो. So, I mean, that's how I think of it. A lot of people are nahi, is tarah nahi hota. That's not how cricket is played, this and that. Sure, fair enough. I mean, we can argue strategy till the end of the day. But in my opinion, Asif Ali situationally is the better pick.
Okay, now when you talk about T20 cricket, the one thing that's really important is your fitness. Because it's about, saving those boundaries. And in the national T20, we've seen that the fielding standards were quite abysmal. And this, in some ways, raises concerns about the work that the national high-performance centers are doing, right? Because you have a high-performance center in Karachi now, one in Lahore. And, there was a lot of fanfare about how you had these, big stars coaching these national domestic teams as well. So you had Basit Ali for Sindh, you had Razak with one of the teams as well. So, what do you think about this? Do you think have you seen any tangible improvement in these domestic sides? Because one more concern people often express is that a ladka aata hai, Pakistan se khelta, then he gets dropped, he performs well, comes back again and makes the same mistakes. So it's like nobody's working on those shortcomings or those flaws, when he goes back to the academy or plays back in the domestic cricket.
I think we're year 3 in the new structure.
Yeah.
So it's still relatively new considering everything, right? So I would still give it a few more years till you can make a final decision on whether it benefited or negatively impacted cricket in Pakistan. I personally think the new setup is a lot better. You get the best playing against the best. Now Ramiz Raja has also increased their salaries, so now they're less worried about the financial issues. And with regards to fitness, I think the issue becomes, and I don't mean to talk this country, but I feel like Pakistanis aren't natural athletes, right? So fielding is about athleticism. Fielding is about reaction time, seeing the ball quickly, making a quick decision, and your body being able to react to that decision, right? So if you're not a good athlete, fielding is a lot harder than it is for let's say Shahdab. Shahdab is a natural athlete. Yeah. You see him jump around in the field, you're like, dude, easy cake, Shaheen is an athlete. He's a poor fielder. He's an athlete. He developed into a great fielder now. He's to the point where he's fielding at long on during matches, right? You don't see, other than I'd say Trent Bolt and maybe Tim Southee who field and Rabada who fast bowlers fielding in crunch positions. So I think the issue is athleticism, but the issue is also I feel like when the young talent is so good, I feel like there's no one grooming them at grassroots level, the fundamentals of cricket, right? And I also feel like it's a little bit of nonchalance, right? Because fitness is also a personal responsibility. It's not the responsibility of a coach. Obviously, the coach is there to groom you and guide you, but it's a personal responsibility. Fielding is also a personal responsibility. You can go spend after you bat or bowl, spend another 40 minutes in the ground, just catching balls or taking grounders. And I'm sure they do that on the international level, but on the lower levels, I'm sure it's overlooked a lot. And I think it's gotten slightly better. Kids nowadays are coming fitter. If you looked at maybe 10, 12 years ago, kids nowadays are a lot fitter, a lot more athletic, move around faster, a little more agile. But there's definitely a lot of room for improvement. I think the high performance centers in Lahore, I think we had the NC before that as well. Yeah, the National Coaching Academy. They changed the name, the HPC. And I think as a country, I think we're moving towards fitness a lot more, understanding fitness, understanding the biomechanics of running. I feel like there's such little things. You look at Jimmy Anderson, he's 41, and you listen to an interview where he's talking about how he can bowl this, how is he bowling 20, 30 overs a match. And he's I just got on YouTube and I started watching runners run. And then he perfected the way he ran. That's how much you have to love or respect your craft to work on it, right? If you're fielding hai, kar lunga, athlete hoon, pakad lunga, kuch tension nahi hai, and you're just trying to focus on batting and bowling, then you're doing yourself a disservice. Eventually, you're doing the team a disservice. And I'm not saying that's the case, but it kind of looks like that's the case, right? Because fielding is just about doing something. It's not. I mean, obviously, it's a talent, but it's a skill that you can develop as well. You just gotta go catch balls. You gotta go catch grounders. You gotta know how it's gonna bounce up at you. You've got the more you do it, the quicker your reactions become. So I think it's more of a personal responsibility, especially personal fitness. There's a few people on our team that I've played in our national team. There are a few people in National T20 Cup that are genuinely, unfit. And it's tough to understand. It's tough to reconcile in your head that you're a professional athlete. You're getting paid to play a sport. The sport's basic fundamental is being able to run, not get tired, be fit, bend, be agile. And that's the basic of any sport is to be fit. And so many people overlook that, and it's mind-boggling. It's kind of frustrating at times because you see so much talent get wasted. And I hope it starts. I see it changing. I hope it changes faster because it sucks losing really, really good talent to the little things, right? So I hope they figure that out, get better, because that only helps our prospect at winning, big tournaments and stuff. So
okay, moving away, taking a slight detour and moving away from the World T20, there's also this concern that we've had this huge brand develop in the last few years, the PSL. But the PSL is still not a substitute for your domestic structure, right? And you've had cricketers who've done well in PSL get selected into the ODI squad or into the Test squad, and that's, I think, not just it's not just bad decision making. It's also unfair on those cricketers, because when you thrust them into the international circuit, they don't play that well, and then they're just pushed into obscurity. So what do you think about that? Because people talk a lot about the IPL, but they don't understand that a lot of people who get selected for India have played years in the Ranji Trophy, for example.
I think, again, we're year 3 into it. This is, I think, third Babar Azam trophy under the new setup. So I think now, like, pehle to, like, there was obscurity. ये बंदा यहाँ खेलता है, PI के लिए खेलता है, यहाँ खेलता है, वहाँ खेलता है, अच्छा player है, इसको team में डाल दो, पर्ची लग गई, right? So now you have 3 years of stats, you have 3 years of performances, whether they're good or bad, to see how does this guy, stand up to good bowlers, the best bowlers in Pakistan. That's the best you can do, right? Just make them play against the best of the best in the country. So we'll see in the next couple of years. With regards to your selection policies, I think Pakistan has always just had this weird aura hanging over the team कि यार ये बंदा पर्ची है, ये बंदा इसकी selection है, ये बंदा उसकी selection है. Because काफी हद तक काफी चीजें true भी हुई हैं. कभी कभार सच नहीं होता, बंदा genuine था, वो development पे आता है. Maybe
Imam, for example, has done exceptionally well, and people still call him पर्ची.
I mean, it's just one of those things कि Pakistan में करते हैं. The guy's you're not one of your best openers in ODI in your recent time. Sure, he's failed in Test cricket, but he's very young. He's not a T20 player, so you don't have to look at him good or bad in that sense. But ऐसी चीजें होती हैं. I think including myself sometimes मैं भी बहुत जज्बाती हो जाता हूँ. Quick fire, obviously. I also realize आहिस्ता कि maybe just be patient. Don't say things that are in your head. Just let it go for a little bit. But I get it. I mean, as fans we're jazbati, but we're also jazbati because we've been ऐसा सलूक हुआ है ना हमारे साथ यार. 20-20 साल ऐसा सलूक हुआ है. ऐसे players आए टीम में अगर गायब हो गए. मूसा खान को आप ऑस्ट्रेलिया ले गए हो. पता है 0 फर्स्ट क्लास मैचेस पे आपने उसको ऑस्ट्रेलिया के खिलाफ टेस्ट खिला दिया. वो बेचारा उसको फेंटा लग गया.
हसनैन को वर्ल्ड कप में ले गए because of 150 delivery.
आप उसको नसीम शाह को ले गए off of what? सही आपके प्लेयर्स नहीं थे उस वक्त भी. ताबिश खान था, उसको ले जाते. Instead of यार बस अभी थोड़े older players को ले जाके let's group the young guys, or let's blood in the young guys and hope for the best. And in a place as violent as Australia, David, I mean, dude, I still sometimes just think about that David Warner innings and I'm just like, wow. Embarrassing. उन शर्म भी आती है कि यार उतना दूर गए हो, बंदा आपको 340 रन मार रहा है, अगला बंदा 190 पे पता नहीं 180 पे लॉबर शेन खड़ा हुआ है, आपने 3 दिन में एक बंदा आउट किया है, वो आपको इनिंग्स और कितने रन से हराते हैं. शर्म भी आती है. एंड अच्छी बात है, इस तरह सीखना चाहिए, बट हम सीखते नहीं. हम यही गलतियां बार बार इन सर्कल करते हैं. एंड हमारा मसला जो 100% है कि वो स्ट्रक्चर नहीं है. अभी स्ट्रक्चर क्रिएट हो रहा था, वसीम खान को निकाल दिया, रमीज राजा को ले आए. अब obviously रमीज राजा का 2-3 साल बाद पता चलेगा कि अच्छा है बुरा है, but like some of the comments he's made since becoming chairman, you're like, bro, you're not a commentator anymore.
हमारे निशाने पे इंग्लैंड और न्यूजीलैंड भी है.
What are you talking about, dude? This is not an ISPR film. Exactly. Calm down, man. You're the chairman of the Pakistan Cricket Board now. You're not some Rambo on commentating on PTV Sports anymore. You need to be more diplomatic because you have to go now face. अब वो वसीम खान का rumor निकला था कि वो ECB का chairman है. I think वो fake rumor था. पर खैर वो बनेगा. He's a brilliant man. He's gonna become something in the ECB. And regardless, you're making these claims, and now क्या हुआ? 2 हफ्ते बाद, we're talking to New Zealand Cricket Board to set up a tour. Obviously you're pissed. Obviously you're upset. He should have made a comment to the public to reassure them, but you don't want to start lighting fires everywhere, right? You're burning bridges, and we might forget, but they might not forget. So you're negatively impacting yourself. Again, at the point we were in the right side, हम चौड़े आ रहे थे कि हमारे साथ गलत हुआ है. फिर आपका chairman आके ऐसी बातें करता है, and you're just like, relax. Chairman, you're not just some guy. You're the guy who heads our cricket. You're a de facto public figure in the country now, and you are part of the federal government in a way, right? PCB is a federal entity, so I think अब देखते हैं that. So going back to the thing is what I was trying to say is कि structure का issue है, process का issue है, कि selection process क्या है, किसी को पता है, genuinely किसी को पता है. मोहम्मद वसीम जो भी है, एक बस stats लगा रहे हैं, Excel sheet दिखा रहा है कि ये बट है कुछ तो है ना, कह तो सकते हैं ना कि मैं कुछ तो कर रहा हूँ, मेरे दिमाग में ये स्ट्रैटेजी है, ये लॉन्ग टर्म स्ट्रैटेजी, हम ये कोशिश कर रहे हैं. तो उस तरह से ओके था. गलतियां भी उसने ऑब्वियसली डेफिनेटली की हैं. सिलेक्शन इजंट परफेक्ट. यू पिकिंग आउट ऑफ कितने हज़ारों क्रिकेटर होंगे, let's say even 200 cricketers से आप best 11 निकाल रहे हो, and it's also subjective that it's tough to make the right decision, but like as long as you have a process, you're following a process, like Australia में, England में अभी आपको पता है process है, हम लोग इस तरह players select करते हैं, so no one, there's not, obviously there's a lot of back and forth, but पता है कि क्या कर रहे हैं, क्यों कर रहे हैं, सही है, वो बंदा सक्सेस फेल हुआ, उसका कुछ नहीं होता, कुछ भी कोई भी बंदा आके कुछ कर सकता है, कोई, and a lot of great players end up not doing anything for whatever reason. So the issue is that we don't have a set process that everyone can respect. And because of that, whenever a player is selected or dropped, there's always someone behind him कि यार इसको गलत drop किया है, इसको गलत उठाया है. And then you've got certain players who have their own PR team, and then you've got journalists who lack so much ethics in this country, right? And I don't want to get into the whole country, but let's just stick to sports. Like the journalistic ethics in this country are so poor. They're so poor. It's like literally they all got a crash course in journalism from TMZ. And their end goal is to destroy every institution in this country. And
like you have people saying कि वसीम खान को 30 लाख रुपए क्यों मिलते हैं?
आपको पता है कि सीईओ को पैसे कितने मिलते हैं? ये तो अंडरपेड है. आपको पता है इसकी यूरोप में यूके में पैसे कितने होते हैं? इसका तो बोनस है, जो साल में ये सैलरी उठा रहा है इसका बोनस है यूके में. आपको पता है पीसीबी के पास पैसे कितने पड़े हैं, कैश रिजर्व्स कितने हैं, आपको पता है रेवेन्यू कितना जनरेट करती है. 30 लाख कुछ भी नहीं है. आप किसी बैंक के सीईओ को देख लो, किसी एंग्रो के सीईओ को देख लो, देखो गाड़ी कौन सी मिली है, घर कहाँ मिला हुआ है. तो ऐसी चीजें, बिकॉज यार we try to look at it from our perspective, and obviously that's how most people look at everything, right? But when you take a step back and you try to realize there's like in that realm कि क्या हो रहा है, in that realm एक CEO को क्या पैसे मिल रहे हैं, in this realm एक player को किस तरह select किया जाता है, in this realm हम एक player को किस तरह analyze करना चाहते हैं, right? वो सब आप देखते हो तो चीजें समझ आती हैं. But everything is just chaos, like with the head coach thing and everything, like you always feel like कोई ना कोई किसी ना किसी चीज में उंगल कर रहा हो.
And speaking of chaos, the one institution that we've seen develop in the last few years is the PSL. And the PSL has in some ways become one of the most prominent brands of Pakistan. Jahan jahan log cricket dekhte, they know about the PSL. But we've seen some irresponsible statements with regards to the PSL as well. So for example, we've had rumors where Rami Sajja told the franchises that, this is my offer, take it or leave it. And
they took it.
and it just seems that there are problems with the financial model, and they're trying really hard to dismantle this institution one by one as well. So what do you think about that? And do you think that we, in some ways trying really hard to dismantle or disrupt how the PSL is working so far?
Yeah, I think the financial model I don't know too much about. Obviously they guard that to a certain extent. There's certain things that okay, हमने 85 की जगह 95% offer कर दिया revenue share का, पर उनको और पैसे चाहिए. And one thing when I was reading on it, I understood the fact that the franchises were like, if you're gonna make us rebid for the franchises after 10 years or something like that, right? Where it's not 100% theirs for life, they have to repay. So they were like, why should we invest in our team? So that's what I understand what it was now. Basically, it was after year 10. They're gonna have to repay for their team on the market value. So they're like, why should we increase our team's value for the next 5 years and then have to pay a higher fee where we can just do nothing and pay a lower fee? So that I was siding with the PSL teams on.
Also, I think one more fundamental flaw is that, so for example, if you and I both have our teams, we get an equal amount of money. Whereas you may have invested a lot more than me. So for example, Lahore and Karachi's teams, they've invested a lot more than say Quetta. And then, but they get the same amount, like same share in revenue. I think that's also a fundamental flaw.
I think salary caps are very important. I think anyone creating a sports league should try to emulate like the NBA, NFL, any American sports league. All right, these guys know how to do sports. The Americans know how to do sports. They know how to market sports, and they know how to watch sports. I don't know the nitty gritty again. I think ऊपर से जो मैं कह सकता हूँ कि I think Wasim Khan was negotiating. He has a lot more nuance. Ramiz Raja, when you're negotiating with like 6 of the richest people in Pakistan, some of the richest people in Pakistan, you can't just be hardball, right? There's got to be nuance. You can't come out like these things need to stay secret.
And to give them their due, they invested in this league when nobody else was, right?
Like I mean, dude, if they didn't invest in this league, kahan hota league? So obviously maybe there were other families or whatever, but these guys did it. These guys took the leap. They took a loss for 4 or 5 years, and obviously उनने अपनी भी brands बड़े किए, ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है. They probably earned a lot more money, Salman Bhai with ARY, Laguna, and Javed with Hire or whatnot. But you have to have nuance. When you're making big deals, you have to have nuance. You've got to keep things hush-hush. You can't just walk into a room and be like, बस ये offer है, ले लो वरना घर चले जाओ, मैं बताऊंगा. भाई हम good day नहीं है, business हो रहा है. आप लो, सही है. If you're playing hardball, that's fine. But there's a way to play hardball. maybe the media portrayed Ramesh wrong, maybe not. I don't know. But the way he's been talking for the last 2 weeks, it seems like
he apparently lashed at Basid Ali because he called him Rambo in a meeting.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, man. There's this grandeur every time someone comes into power in Pakistan is boggling to me. I don't understand.
And just to conclude, we know that you're traveling to Dubai for the World Cup. So any last concluding comments about the World Cup?
I hope Pakistan wins. I hope we beat India. I hope we beat New Zealand, definitely.
Yes.
These two teams.
England, if you face them, Are you facing England?
No, so we'll probably play them in the semi-finals if we make it. It depends on how they go. But I just hope it's fun. I hope people enjoy it. I mean, it's probably the first time traveling for a lot of people in a long time. So that's a breath of fresh air. I haven't gone anywhere for 2.5 years. So I'm definitely excited, looking forward to going. I'm not a big fan of Dubai and like plastic places like that. I'm more of a fan of like relaxed places, but this is my first cricket World Cup, so I'm very, very excited.
And I just hope that we give all these guys a longer run, even if they don't do that well. So guys like, for example, there are concerns that Babar maybe removed as captain if we don't like perform as well. So I just hope we give these guys a longer run because you've trusted them, you've invested in these guys.
I mean, I think it would be ridiculously silly to drop Babar as captain just because of World Cup. I mean, a World Cup, you're not favored in a World Cup. You're probably the fifth, sixth best team in realistically, right? Maybe let's say top 5, right? And to drop someone based on a World Cup, based on maybe 3 games, if you get dropped before like 4 games, that's ridiculous. I think Babar's been a good captain. We've had success in Test match cricket. We've lost that one match against West Indies, which we should have won if Hassan Ali caught that catch. We've struggled a little bit in T20s, but we've been decent. And you see progress, and I feel like Babar's up for the challenge. I feel like a lot of people just assume that Babar is this soft-spoken, kind guy that doesn't want to be captain, and Rizwan's this captain material guy. And don't get me wrong, I love Rizwan. I love Rizu. Rizu's my guy. But I think you've got to let your guy flourish. I think if he's your captain and he's your best player and he wants to be captain, you keep him as captain. Obviously, there's another World Cup coming next year. You can make that decision a year from now, and obviously, being a 3-format captain is quite stressful. But if your best player wants to be captain, it's tough not letting him be captain, right? Because then you're messing with his psyche. You know, maybe he's not happy playing under someone. Regardless, I think him and Rizwan have a great relationship. But if you're asking me, I'm leaving him as captain as long as he wants to be. Like, you know, letting him feel that out. And down the line, I feel like Babar's smart enough where if he wants to focus on his batting, just on his batting, he'll hand it off to Rizwan.
Thank you so much for your time, Arhum. We talked about the national T20 today. We talked about Pakistan's prospects. We spoke about the PSL and Pakistan cricket. Until next time, keep watching.